The boys are back. That is right. It's another episode of the No BS Golf Show. Brad Thomas here with Chris Mills, and we are going to talk about the Genesis Invitational. And before we get into it, we have to highlight the Waste Management Phoenix Open, the WM Phoenix Open. Thomas Dietrich getting his first PGA Tour win, the first Belgium to win on tour. For me, pissed me off because
Yeah.
last year I must have bet Dietrich like in 10 events.
Yeah.
And then he goes out and does that and does it in great fashion. What was your biggest takeaway from last week?
I mean, I agree with you. I feel like I've been on Dietrich multiple times in the past. And the biggest takeaway was even, I think, through 9 holes, he was still only like minus 120 with like a 5-shot lead. Like, not only did we think he was going to choke, but the books thought so as well. Like, he couldn't get a lead big enough for them to switch him to minus 300, minus 400. So you could have got serious value on it with a 3, 4, 5-shot lead, even with 9 holes to play. Yeah, I mean, my takeaway from that is good for him. Monkey off the back. And, he's a guy that you got to watch out for the rest of the year
Yes.
because you've seen this before. You've seen it with Scotty specifically. He got his first win, and then it was just off to the races after that. So, long ball hitter, beautiful swing, little baby fade. Yeah, he could be dangerous this year.
You know, what's funny on Saturday when he hit his drive on 17, he was plus 250 after the
Yeah.
drive. I took a little bit of the plus 250. I put a unit on it. Like, wasn't anything special, but the fact that he was literally, if you didn't get up and down from there, he was on the fringe, right? Like, if you didn't get up and
Yeah.
down from there, at least you have something to root for. I sometimes do that when I have like a horrible, horrible card. Speaking of which, I'm sorry for anybody who tailed me last week. We did hit putting him top 40, but that was the only bet. Like, my outrights weren't great. Even Justin Thomas finishing top 5, he just died. Like, his
Yeah.
third round was just death. His course management was like the biggest concern of mine, right? Like, you're in a situation where you need to get birdies. I get it. You're playing aggressive, but sometimes you, like what Scotty says, you have to be patient. Just be patient. The birdies will come to you because if
Yeah.
he finishes that round 5 or 6 under, as opposed to what was he 3 or 4 under, it's a totally different story. He's having a little bit more confidence going into Sunday. Granted, he played Sunday fantastic, but it's a
Yeah.
totally different story. Um, I wasn't too impressed with with how my performance was. I wanted to put myself in a trash can and put myself in timeout. How did the week fare for you? I don't know. I don't know. Like, you had some pretty good stories on your 3 balls. So why don't you talk about that?
Yeah, I mean, overall winners, it's one of those weeks where, I'd say after Friday, really didn't have anybody in contention. Had a
Yeah.
couple people, if they would have, started hot on Saturday, maybe make a run, but it's also one of those weeks where you have the opportunity to be conservative and save some money. Because none of the real chasers had that much value. You look at guys at Scotty and that 5, 6, 7 shots back, and they're 10-1.
Yeah.
Wasn't going to touch that. Just didn't make sense. So it saved me money live betting, which was great. But in terms of winners, yeah, definitely a flop last week. But we come into this week with some good history for sure. For me, a crazy story, and we can get into it. But
Yeah.
our
Yeah. Tell us.
matchups last week were actually really, really strong. My percentages were incredible. Actually, probably one of the best of the year. And one in particular, we started 5 for 5. And we threw some dogs in there, so the juice was good. It was 110-1, and our last leg was Lanto Griffin. So if
Yeah.
anybody knows or anybody was following, I know my community was, and it was a bit of a heartbreak, but he was in the last group, and the sun was going down, and they actually didn't get to finish. So he was playing with Paul Waring, and he was playing with Max McGreevy, and both of those guys had no way to make the cut. They finished out on 17, and Lanto waited in the fairway bunker because he was right on the cut line. So for him, it was important to wait till the morning. If anybody follows golf, if you are completely out of it and there's no way that you're going to make the cut, that's a great opportunity for you to withdraw, sleep in the
Yeah.
morning, fly, go do something, spend time with your family. These two bozos, they actually came back the next morning to play 1 hole. Had they not done that, it's a 6 for 6, 110-1 cash. What does
God.
Lanto proceed to do from the bunker? over the green, doesn't get up and down, makes bogey, and loses on the last hole by one. So we were 5 for 6 and lost by one because these two guys came back and finished. So while it was a great week in terms of percentages, obviously those big stickers, those big wins, they tend to carry us. So that was a bit of an ugly beat for us.
Yeah, the fact that they came back and played is wild.
Makes no
I,
sense.
I don't know, I thought the 3 balls were pretty tough, especially, like, the rounds 1 and 2 with all the ball strikers were pretty much in a group, and I was just isolating ball
Yeah.
strikers, so I just was, like, going best price. I went reverse sweep, took round 3 off, and then reverse sweep in round 4, on 3 ball autos, but, they're hard to hit. I'm glad that I've hit 3 so far this season, like,
Yeah.
it that's literally enough to carry us over for the rest of the season, so I'm gonna keep firing them. But dude, let's get into the tournament, right? For those who don't know, this is moved from Riviera to Torrey Pines, but they're only playing the South course due to the wildfires here. Defending champion Hideki Matsuyama, again, different course. We'll have to kind of go through that. Torrey Pines, we were just there for the Farmers Insurance Open. The rough is going to be up a little bit. I think it's from up almost an inch and a half, from like 2.8 to 4.1 is what the superintendent is saying. Same cuts, so the cuts will be the same in terms of fairway width, and the greens might be similar. We haven't gotten to the estimation on that one yet. Guys, we got to remember it's a long course, 7,765 yards, par 72 with small greens, 5,000 square feet, some of the smallest greens on tour. If you guys remember, this course hosted the 2021 US Open. I believe John Rahm won that. But there's a lot of golfers actually in this field that played in that event, and it was a beast. I think winning score was like 5 or 6 under. But if you look at second place, was like 2 under, 1 under, and then a
Yeah.
lot of guys even par finished inside the top 10. I think it's gonna play similar to tour to major conditions, which it's gonna be different, right? Like I had this flirtation with Andrew Novak, thinking of how well he played. It's not the same course,
No.
not at all. Novak could have success, but if you're using him having success here last week or 2 weeks ago as your barometer, I find that a little difficult to use. Any notes or any kind of guys you're looking for before we get into our bets?
Yeah, I mean, I think you mentioned it. So I don't think it's going to play like US Open conditions
Yep.
because we also have to keep in mind that for the US Open, the greens are always going to be faster, right? The rough's going to be way thicker.
Yeah.
But I think it's going to play tougher than Farmers did. Keep in mind too that the scores were inflated a little bit because of the North course, right? Everybody got to go out and
Yeah.
poke it around in the North course. So you kind of have to dismiss that a little bit. But 4 rounds at the South course, and typically the Genesis Open, they like it to be a little bit tougher. They don't like a big birdie fest. They want it to be, a champion's champion. So I expect a little bit of that this week as well. So for me, I'm looking at guys that play tough courses well. The guys who are the grinders, the scramblers, the up and downs, and honestly, the best putters. Not necessarily the guys who are making all the birdies, but the guys who are saving those par putts. They kind of keep the momentum going throughout those rounds. So you'll see that consistency through my picks this week.
I love that. I went really ball striking heavy again this week, but I did it a little bit different. I just kind of wanted to hit buckets, like really important buckets. And like I want guys who excel on 400 to 500 yard par fours, guys who are really great from 200 and out, guys who have high club head speed. I thought that was really important when you're playing through this kind of rough. And I think I did something a little different this week. Instead of just isolating putting by itself, I isolated putting on Poana. So I did both. I want the overall number, but I also need these guys on Poana greens, those superstars. That's why you see like guys like if you've seen my model, you see like guys like Cantlay or even JT creep up a little bit because these guys get those boosts in either the putting acumen on Poana or they have high club head speed so they can play these long courses and play thick out of rough. That's why Roy McIlroy is number one over Scotty Scheffler, just because of those kinds of things. I think there was something else I wanted to. Oh yeah, I went. I made sure I added scrambling in this one if the rough is going to be up, right? If the rough is going to be thicker, you have to imagine these guys aren't going to hit the greens as successfully as they would with the rough down. Those approach numbers are going to be down relative to the field. I mean, relative to the other tournaments, but similar to the field which is why wanted to make sure I added in strokes gained around the green higher than I normally would because stroke gained approach is a relative stat, right? You're not going to really see it reflective in the numbers that it's harder to hit. You're just gonna see guys do better, but you wanna one thing you're gonna see reflective is around the green strokes. Those guys who do well are gonna have better scores. I thought those were kind of some of the important, facts and stats that I included. Let's
And
go to
and what's interesting on
yeah,
that,
go ahead.
just quickly, is because the course is so long, you
Yeah.
can't necessarily just lay back and hope to hit a fairway. Right?
Yes.
Because again, if there's a little bit of wind, the fairways are not wide in most cases on the south course, so you really have to get after it. So then you start to think about, do you apply the Bryson DeChambeau from the U.S. Open back at what was it, Winged Foot,
Yeah.
where it's just hit the ball as far as you can, understand you're going to be in the rough, and just do your best to make pars and the occasional birdie. Where you have guys that are shorter hitters, and if they're just missing fairways and they're 200 yards plus, from back there, you're hitting 4 irons, 5 irons, 7 woods, and then there's no way you're holding those greens. So it's kind of two ways. You want to find those fairway finders, accuracy off the tee, like you said, those ball strikers. But then also it's, or do I go with just long ball hitters? They're going to hit it out there. They're going to hit some fairways for sure. They're going to miss, and it's just a matter if they're able to get up and down.
Yep, I totally agree. I love that. Let's get into our picks, and I kind of showed my hand a little bit. My first guy I went with, I thought the price was great. It was better than 16 to 1 in a smaller field. I'm pretty sure that price is gonna die before they tee off on Thursday, but that's Justin Thomas. Got him at 20 to 1. Um, I tried not to get too lush and gush about the 2021 US Open, but there were just some things that I couldn't ignore, right? Justin Thomas was probably playing pretty similar that season than he is currently right now, where he's still having those issues on the putting green, but he's tearing the cover off the ball and gaining a ton on approach. Justin Thomas played horrible that Sunday. Wasn't really in contention. I think he was like I think maybe if he would have finished 3 under, he would have been in contention, right? But John Rahm built out such a lead that he really had no chance of winning. JT went out there and stunk it up. Even having a terrible Sunday, he still gained 7.4 strokes to the field. That is just through the tournament. That is still wild. I thought I had to do that, but he's been doing this for like the past, I don't know, 6 months where he's just gaining so many strokes to the field. Last week, he gained 10 strokes to the field, finished T6, right? He did have, like we mentioned a little bit, JT goes through these lulls where he's bad course management.
Yeah.
He's not patient enough. Um, if you're getting 10 strokes to the field, 8 strokes to the field, 7 strokes to the field, you're gonna be in contention 20 to 1. And I actually think I've gone to the realization that I can't keep jamming Colin Morikawa at 14 to 1
Yeah.
when there's guys who have just as much win equity at 25 and 30 to 1 as Colin Morikawa. Yes, Morikawa is a great fit. I'll talk about him later, but I just can't keep jamming him. Now, if you're a guy who hasn't bet him in ages and you bet him at 14 to 1, bravo, go get it. I hope you do well. But me personally, as a guy who's jammed him 2 of his last 3 starts, I can't do it again. So I went with Justin Thomas as my favorite.
Listen, Justin Thomas is going to win this year. It's
Yes.
going to happen. And it's just a matter if you're going to get him on the right week. Because at plus 2,000, 20 to 1, that's the highest he's been in probably the last 6 weeks. And it goes to show that, even with his game trending well, because the field has those big names, his odds are boosted a little bit. I think
Yes.
20 to 1 is a good price. He's also a type of guy that we've talked about in previous weeks where if he starts hot, he'll be down to 10 to 1 right away,
Easily.
right? He's going to get that respect. So 20 to 1 may be the highest number that you get for him. And again, you always want to shop across different books if you have the ability in the state that you live. Try and find the best value. If he's in the plus 1600 range, I'd probably wait. Maybe makes an early birdie, inflates a little bit. Sorry, early bogey, inflates a little bit, and get him live. But he is going to win. It's just a matter of when, not if.
Yes. And that's what that statement you made, I really like that because, like, honestly, his putting wasn't that bad last week. It was his short game, and this is one of the best guys around the greens on
Yeah.
tour. So you'll think that kind of will have its moments. And I think people are a little we're probably a little afraid of, JT on the West Coast after what happened at Pebble. Weather should be much better.
Yeah.
I mean, at Pebble, like, he played great, was it round 1? And
Yep.
then the weather ate him, and then he was just kind of checked out. So, who's
Yeah.
your favorite that you're gonna kind of lead off here with?
So this player traditionally has been known for more accuracy and hasn't had that much length off the tee. But if you look at his numbers over the last 16 months, he's actually increased his ball speed. His hitch at the top is not as slow and not as long as it used to be, and that's Sung J M. If you look at him over the last 3-4 weeks, he's been flirting with some something special.
Yeah.
And I like him this week. It's the highest. It's kind of like JT because the field is quite strong. It's the highest number that I've seen for him this year, and that's a plus 3,500. Depending on the book, you can get him. I think even as high as plus 3,800. But I really like that value. He showed signs, last week. Traditionally, a great fairway finder, amazing irons with the short greens. I think he'll have a lot of looks. So I really like him at that price.
I like Sungjae, a lot, right? Guy hits a ton of fairways. Um, it's we have to remember this is not gonna be some birdie fest. Like,
Yeah,
yeah, I don't really pay Sungjae at birdie fest, but at tough, must hit the fairways, gotta have a little bit of length, gotta be a good ball striker. Sungjae's a great guy, and, he's really level-headed. I think I told you this, like, I'm gonna bet him in the placement market. I couldn't believe he was, plus 110 to finish top 20. Means he just have to beat 60 guys. A guy like Sungjae,
yeah,
let's go back to 2021. What he finished? I think he finished 5 over, but he still was inside the top 20, 4 or 5 over. I don't know off the top of my head. Look it up, whatever. But he
yeah.
still finished inside the top 20 while having a pretty bad weekend. And this is Sanjay is a way different golfer then than he is now. So I like that. Look at Sanjay at 30. What do you got? 35?
Yep.
35 to 1. Sign me up. Okay, my mid range. I'm going with Mr. Victor Hovland. And I think someone had asked this, uh, do you only go based on your model, right? Do you only bet golfers based on your model? And the answer is no, right? Like Hovland pops in 26th on my model, and it's all about what golfer you're getting and the value you're getting for them. When I look at Victor Hovland, all I need to do is see some spurts of greatness, right? Some
Yeah.
spurts. And at Century, he had his spurts, right? He finished T36 there, but he had his moments. He had third round great ball striking. But then we have to remember at Pebble Beach, they had that opening round, which was phenomenal. Played okay the was it second round, and then died on the third round. But then again, on the fourth round, gained 2.5 strokes on approach in that fourth round. I mean, he said his game's not where he wants it to be, but 55 to 1 for a guy who's gonna get hit fairways. And a guy, what I like about Victor Hovland too is he's won at courses where they don't fit around the greens. He's a horrible around the green guy. But
Yeah.
I heard this saying, I think it was from Rick Rungood, and it's like one of the best sayings that I've heard. Sometimes these bad guys who are bad around the greens can have success because at the end of the day, if you're only relying on getting around the green, basically getting it up and down, you're probably not going to win a tournament, right? You want guys who are hitting greens, blistering the ball, and rolling in putts. And if I can get Hovland hitting greens, I think at 55 to 1, it's a no-brainer for me.
It is a no-brainer. And again, I'd encourage people to shop around because you may even be able to get them at a higher number.
Yeah.
People forget Hovland was the best golfer in the world before Scotty went on his run, right?
Yes.
He was unstoppable during the FedEx Cup playoffs a couple years ago. He was nuts. It was him and Xander going neck and neck. And yeah, I don't know what happened in that 4 month span when he came back around last January, but yeah, he's been fighting it ever since. But he's a guy that, he's got the pedigree. He knows how to win. He has the experience. He's won on tough golf courses. Memorial comes to mind, right? You have to get up and down from that course. You have to hit fairways at that course, and he's always played well there traditionally. So I think it's a great value play. And I actually have him, and I'm jumping ahead, but because we're speaking to him, there are three Scandinavians in this tournament. You have Aberg, who has absolutely no game right now. You
Yep.
have Rasmus, who's top of mind and looks sexy because he's been around the lead the last couple weeks. And then you
Yep.
have Victor Hovland. That's it. Only those three. Victor Hovland, top Scandinavian, is plus 260. Has to beat two players who again, he has much more pedigree than,
Yep.
one player who's struggling, one player who's never played that type of hard course in Rasmus. Give me plus 260 top Scandinavian. That is amazing value.
Dude, I'm, like, looking at Rasmus's let's just go from to this last year. Like, he didn't really play a tough
No.
course. Like, cause remember Valhalla played really easy this year or last year. Like, I can't think of one. Cognizant played tough,
Yeah.
missed the cut there,
He's a
didn't
birdie
gain
guy,
on approach either
right?
round.
He's there to make birdies. I just don't see him as a tough course
No,
player. And again, just give me the value. How he is favored over Hovland in this circumstance, I don't get it.
no, I like that. I like that a lot. My long shot, I went with Daniel Berger, and
Nice.
recency bias, whatever, call me. He played this course already, right? He played Torrey, missed the cut. Wasn't terrible. I think he was terrible on the south course, wasn't terrible on the north course. But it was his putter, right? Like he was about neutral, maybe lost a half stroke on approach. His putter was dead. Now coming off Waste Management Phoenix Open, he said a statement where he feels healthy, the healthiest he's been in a
Yeah.
long time. This is a guy who's gonna hit fairways, right? Like, he's gonna hit fairways while he's not 6'1". I didn't know he was 6'1", by the way. I thought he was like 5'10", 5'8". He's not super long, but still in like the 295 can stretch out the 300, 305 if
Yeah.
necessary. But he's accurate, top 30 in the world in the PGA, excuse me, in edge distance to fairway. Basically, why I say distance to fairway, good drives, is because there's still gonna be a caller at this. It's not just straight fairway to 4-inch rough. There's the collar. You want guys who are good at distance to fairway. Really good ball striker. I don't think that's
Yeah.
talked about enough. Really good ball striker. Before I bet him before I checked this out, but I wanted to go back to that 2021 US Open. Finished third inside the top three at that US Open when he was healthy. So I went with Berger at 100 to 1.
Yeah. That's a nice line. And did you see the telecast last week when JT was on the call?
No, I didn't.
Well, he said that
Or I
there's
must have had it
no
muted.
he was saying that nobody has taken more money from him
Oh, yeah,
than
yeah, yeah. I
Daniel
did hear
Berger.
that.
He was saying his game
Yep.
is nuts. There's a reason he's up at the top. This is a guy who's healthy. It's a guy who's playing kind of, I wouldn't say stress free, but because he's had a good start, that certainly helps. But his exemption runs out this year, right? He had that 2 year exemption after he won, right after COVID, and that's essentially expired because he also had a medical that he added on top of that. Super good value, especially with this. I mean, what's nice about this is the small field, 80 guys, right? So like,
Yep.
there's a lot of value there. Okay, so you rung out two, so I'll go with my two.
Okay.
And you know me, I love the long shots. I love
Yeah.
sniffing out the value and finding it. So I brought up Memorial once, which is
Okay.
consistent with Hovland. But 120 or 110 to 1, depending on the book. Give me Denny McCarthy. He is a scrambler. He is statistically the best putter on the
Yep.
tour. Traditionally not as long, but like you said, he's kind of like a burger. You can get it out there 285, 290 with a little
Yep.
bit of roll. Fairways and greens, give me some putts, and traditionally a very tough course guy.
Yeah, hard
He's
course
not
guy.
hard course guy. He's not going to be the guy that wins birdie fests. He's not
Yep.
going to be the guy. But if you looked at him last week, he gained a ton of strokes throughout the bag. Put up, I think, a -8 on the Friday. He was near the end of one of the final groups on Sunday. He was okay. I think that he just, the moment of playing in the group with JT, maybe it was just too many people. But I
Mm.
think that at that value, given the size of the field, I like that at 120 to 1, 110 to 1, depending on the book.
Alright, give me, your long shot
My
or
long
your middle.
shot. Wow. Well, we have short memories apparently, but I'm gonna go with Mathieu Bavon, and you can
Oh,
get him at 350 to 1.
so I should start Pavone in fantasy this week. He's on my bench.
You know what? This is a guy who won here, won the Farmers last year, same course, and it really jump started his season. And at the end of the day, I don't care if he comes out and he's dead last. I took that risk and said Todd a couple of weeks ago. Todd has no game. He's never going to be on a slip for me ever again. But Pavon looked good last week. He won his match every week, and I hit him on every matchup. He was making birdies, making putts, hitting fairways, hitting greens. He looked really good last week. And at those odds, with only 80 players, I am going to absolutely have that. I'm going to give it out. I hope everybody takes it. At those odds, like I said, even if he sucks, it is what it is. But he's won there. He's got good vibes there. He's got good history there. 100% I'm on that.
Nice, nice, Mr. Pavon there. Um, Let me just ask you this before we move into our prop bets. What are we doing with Bill Zalatoris? He's another hard course guy. Didn't play Pebble all that great. Wasn't great around the greens, but was good at Amex.
Mhm.
Was decent at Century. What are your thoughts on him this week?
Again, that's it's funny. That's the third person that we've mentioned who has great history at Memorial. I don't know why we keep coming back to this, but this is again another tough ball, tough course. Um, I want to cheer for Zalatoris,
Yeah,
right? He's had some injuries. He's a guy who does get respect. So if you get him early and he does play well, it will drop. So come Sunday, if he's there and he's in the lead, you'll have a great opportunity for some value on the hedge side. Um, I can't do it. I just can't. I can't take Zalatoris. His putter still scares me.
yep.
I will, if he wins, I'll congratulate him. But for me, he can't. He's not on my list until further notice.
He's not on my list at all. For him to finish inside the top 20, and this is without dead heat. So with dead heat, so ties do not apply. Plus 150. That number needs to be closer to plus 220. Novak is, I think, more value at
Yeah.
plus 240 to finish inside the top 20 than Zalatoris, because at least Novak can get on those runs.
Let me ask you this. Again, short memories. Who didn't someone just win less than a month ago at this course, and he's sitting at 100 to 1?
Yep.
Are we not talking about Harris English? Like, does he
And
not
Harris
come to
English is
mind? Was that just a fluke and we don't expect him to do anything anymore?
what's crazy about Harris English too is let me just check. I want to see his placement price first. Is plus 200. Like, what are we doing? Like, he doesn't even need to be great, right?
Yeah.
He just needs to hit fairways.
Yeah.
Great putter. Great around the green.
Yeah. And he actually, if you look, he started on the North course when he
Yeah.
won and then played 3 consecutive rounds at the South course and was amazing. So,
He ranked really high in my model too. Top 10 makes
well,
sense.
maybe an honorable mention there if anybody's listening. I wouldn't
Yeah.
be and you know what's crazy is I'm not even giving him the respect when I gave him out to win the Farmers at 100
Yeah.
to 1. And here he is coming back to the same course. Granted, the field is a lot better than what the Farmers was. But that's a guy who's we're probably not giving enough respect to for sure.
Yeah. Played the South course. Actually freaking blazing. South course gained 2.56 strokes to the field, gained 5.87 to the field. And then that final round that doesn't really matter, right?
Yeah.
Like, when you're leading, I don't
Yeah.
care what if you win, like, I don't care how many strokes you gain when you're leading because you're gonna be bad. He gained 1.7 strokes. He lost a stroke off the tee. If you guys remember, he couldn't hit a fairway and still gained what a freaking stud.
He did what he needed to do that day.
Yes,
Right.
exactly.
That was it. He was playing for the win. He was playing conservative. He was playing smart. Um,
Such a hardcore specialist too, like,
yeah.
I'm gonna put a little small wager on him to win and top 20. I'd be mad if he wins at this course twice, and
Yeah.
I'm not even on the dance floor.
Yeah. That's a shame on you if he repeats. That's
Yeah,
100% on us.
that's
That'd be 100% on us.
I mean, literally 100 to 1, put a quarter unit on there, win 20 units, have fun. Let's get to the placements. I went with Colin Morikawa, top 20. First of all, great history here. Uh, while he lives in Vegas, he's a California kid, went to Cal.
Yeah.
Um, listen, he's the kind of guy who plays these courses pretty well too, right? These West Coast tough courses, got to hit fairways. That's the kind of stuff you want to look for. You want to look for guys like him.
Would
Um,
you get him at top 10?
I played it with dead heat, so I mean, I played it without dead heat, so ties don't hurt you. I got him at plus 110. If you don't care about the dead heat, you can get him at plus 150. But to be inside the
Yeah.
top 10 at an 80-man field,
That's tough. Yeah.
that is tough, tough, tough. You could lose money on a plus 150. So, especially on a hard course, there's not much separation that happens here.
Yeah.
Uh, you know, outside of Zozo. he's pretty much been top 20 everywhere. He had to withdraw, obviously. What tournament was that? Farmers. He had to withdraw Farmers. Played all right at Pebble, even when his putter was pretty bad. I just feel like this is a price that I can live and die with.
Yeah, nice. I didn't go on any. I already gave out Hovland, but I'll give out a place as well,
Okay,
and I'm going with Sepp Straka top 20.
nice.
I mean, how do you fade this guy right now?
Yeah.
Honestly, I thought he'd be invisible last week. He
Yes.
wasn't relevant at all, but he made the cut. He was under par every round. He still does what he does, and you can get him without dead heat at plus 130, top 20. I mean, that's pretty juicy.
This year, 2025, Straka's only had one tournament. I bet him top 20 last week. He's only had one tournament outside where he was outside of the top 20, and that was in the Sony Open. And I can't remember what happened there. He had like one stink round. Yeah, yeah. It was second round. Remember, I think he was like leading or close to the lead after round one. Then on Saturday, just played like crap, bounced back and played well on Sunday.
Yeah.
S- last week, oh no, last week I had him 35th or better. That's what it was. I mean, can't be mad at that.
Yeah, I mean, there's arguably nobody who's played better than him this year, and he's still. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if to see him up there on Sunday. So I think I saw him at the plus 6,000 range, which
Yeah.
is still decent value for a guy of his form. Don't forget, he was great at Pebble. Fell short to didn't show up on Sunday,
Yep.
but he's already won this year. I mean, he's a guy that's been there. So while I don't think he'll win, I think he'll be there well enough to get you a plus 30 cash on top 20.
Yeah. Dude he hits fairways and greens, like you said. Like that's like want to be in the mix. Let's do some first round leader. Dude, I had Jake Knapp. That was heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Um,
He was
I'm gonna
there.
give
He
you
was minus what is he? Minus 4 through 9? Like
yeah,
he had a chance on Thursday.
he got up to five.
Did he? Yeah.
Yeah. Guys, remember 80-man field, so it's a lot more difficult. Um, Here are the short shots. Scotty Scheffler, 12 to 1, Rory, 14 to 1, Morikawa, 22 to 1, Justin Thomas, 25 to 1. Actually, this is so funny. I have to say this. This is hilarious. So I do a football podcast with my buddy, and I think my calendar is messed up. He just texted me and said, "Dude, I'm getting all of your calendar notifications, and I don't know why." And I have like 8 calendar notifications all day long because I have shows all day. He's probably, "What the hell is going on?" Oh my god, that is hilarious. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna take a couple here and take a couple shots. I'm gonna go first. Obviously, we're gonna go with Sepp Straka 40 to 1. I'm going Hovland 40 to 1, Keegan 45, and Berger 55 to 1 as my first round leaders.
Nice. So, just quickly for those people who aren't
Oh,
that
wait, I forgot
familiar.
one. My bad to cut you off. I forgot Russell Henley. I forgot about him.
Okay, didn't wasn't even on my radar, but yeah, that's a good
Dude, he
bet.
grades out so well on every
Yeah.
tournament for my models, and I was like,
Yeah.
I'm just gonna run him.
Yeah, well, I mean, wasn't he first round leader a couple weeks ago?
Yep.
Yeah, at Pebble, right? He
Yeah.
finished minus 8 first round. So it's not a bad pick at all. But what I was going to say is the people who are not familiar or who don't bet on golf too often, typically you have a field of about 140 players. It can range from
Yeah.
anywhere from 132 to about 156 full field. So this is a signature event. There's only 80 players. So while a guy may be 150 to 1 to win the entire tournament, he may only be 60 to 1 to be first round because at the end of the day, these guys are all pros and anybody can go low one round.
Yeah.
So it's, important to know that. And it's a
Yeah.
little bit harder to stiff out value for first round because it's such a crapshoot, right? So for me, I'm not going to double dip. I like my picks to win the whole tournament. If you wanted to, you could say, "Hey, I'm cheering for that guy anyways. I hope he starts fast," and you could get him, get those guys first round leaders. But I'm going off the board a little bit and
Okay.
looking at recent form based on last week. And my first one is Michael Kim.
Ooh.
A little sneaky. I forget what it was. Give me a second.
Michael Kim, He's got that drive under control.
Dude, he is long. Did you
Yeah.
see, like, he was out driving his entire group on
Yep.
Sunday. Like, Dietrich is not a short player, and he was surpassing him. So, you can get Michael Kim at, plus 6,500 first round, and I
Yep.
think coming off a really good week, I think he's hitting fairways, and if he can hit the ball that long and hit some fairways, he gets hot one round. I like him.
Yeah.
And then there's another player who traditionally loves to go low round one. And I actually picked him every single week, every single day last week in his matchup. So I was following him and watching him pretty closely. And that's Ben Griffin. Likes to
Oh.
start quick. And I like him at plus 7,000.
Ben Griffin, has been talking about this tournament a little bit, and he made I had to do a little deeper dive on Ben Griffin because I don't know, I just feel like and anybody who's ever watched me on other shows, when people interview me, about golf, sometimes I just think you have to just go on vibes, like, guys who have high vibes coming into a tournament. Ben Griffin's one of those guys, who's coming on high vibes. You know, he had that T36 last week, played well in the middle rounds, rounds 2 and 3, um, but he's had an okay season, right? Like,
Yep.
I think what was it? The Amex? Yeah, Amex literally had a share of the lead at one point. I like that, man. Good. I like that a lot. You said plus 7,000?
Yeah. In an
Wow.
80-man field. Again, it all comes down to luck, getting hot, making the most putts, and obviously, depending on what wave you get. Traditionally, what we typically see is the morning wave tends to have the lowest guys. So I think for those people who are looking at their own slips and they're looking at their own lists, a
Yeah.
lot of the times, if you look at the averages, it's all based on the best wave. But we typically see someone go out in the morning, post a number, and then the afternoon guys try to fight to get to that number. Also, depending on what book you have, you are able to bet on first round leaders live. So
Yes.
another great strategy is obviously get those guys in the morning, hope your guy goes nuts, and then the afternoon guys who haven't teed off yet, if they start quick or they're chasing that first round lead, there's always an opportunity for you to hedge. Obviously, in Florida, we don't have that because again, Hard Rock sucks. But there's a lot of other books out there for you guys to capitalize on.
Yeah, that's a very good option. I love live betting first round leader. Just remember the dead heat rule. I've
Yeah,
definitely gotten myself screwed where I've taken the freaking live guy to hedge and I got dead heated out and ended up only winning pennies. But dude, this was fun. Anybody who's watching on YouTube, make sure you rate us, you subscribe to the channel, tell your friends about it. If you're listening in podcast form, download and rate. Special thanks to our producer, Straight. James, you are the man. Chris, is fun. Like I said, until next week, everybody, good luck. And thanks for checking out the No BS Golf Show.
good luck, guys.